Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Friday, and all of our guests today sponsored by Passant Motors. It's March Mayhem at Passant. All month long, choose either no GST, 4.99% financing on 2020 and newer vehicles, or a $2,000 trade-in bonus. Get all the info at Passant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. We're going to be joined by Michael DAgostino, Vancouver Whitecaps assistant coach. He's filling in right now for the suspended head coach, Vanni Sartini, to start the season. And lo and behold, Michael has the Whitecaps off to a roaring start. 2 wins and 1 draw so far in 3 games. Caps host Real Salt Lake tomorrow, Saturday, at BC Place. And Michael, who's from the Vancouver area, joins us now. Michael, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. Very, very well. How good does your resume look right now after those first 3 matches?
I mean, I haven't updated it, so it's still the same, but I guess it looks okay.
How big a deal is this for you? I know you've been an assistant coach for a while now, but to take over like this for a kid who grew up in the Vancouver area with the Langley secondary, how big a deal is this for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to do it once last season, which was obviously good to break the ice that way. But for me, I got a bit of pride about it. At the end of the day, the circumstances, they came as they did. Obviously, I felt for Vanni getting suspended, but at the end of the day, when your leader's out, you got to push a little bit more and take a little bit more of the responsibility. And so for me, I'm really excited. I'm obviously really excited that Vanni's now coming back. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to do my job and really kind of proud of the fact that we've been able to get good results.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Vanni's had his suspension shortened. What are the main reasons, meanwhile, Michael, for the success in the 3 games, especially winning a couple on the road?
For me, it's been the mindset and kind of the maturity on the road. Like you said, it's never easy to win in this league on the road. It's very, very difficult. And I think the mindset has changed. And that includes the last half of last season. The guys felt like they could win any game. They got good results. We've played well, but we've also had to grind out these results. We haven't dominated these 2 games over 90 minutes, but we've definitely, dominated when we needed to and really bunkered down and made sure that we could grind out these results. So for me, it's about the mindset and the maturity of the players. We've got the scores last season, and I can see us turning a corner away from home, but we definitely need to do the same at home.
Michael, last couple of years, bad starts, then you play catch up. But right now, the Whitecaps are off to their best start since 2012. How great is that?
It feels great. I mean, especially the fact that we've only had 1 home game out of those 3. But what's going to be important now is, that we don't do the opposite of what we did in the past, which is, let's say we haven't started well, like you mentioned, and then done really well in the second part of the season. We need to make sure that we stay consistent. Just because we had a good start doesn't mean that the whole season is going to go well. So we need to try to maintain consistency and make sure that this isn't just a 3, 4, or 5 game thing. This is a full season thing.
2-0 on the road. Last year, 4-7-6 on the road. Had some difficulties away from Vancouver. Talk a little bit about how important it is to get off to a good start on the road.
It feels great. I mentioned in one of my pregame speeches, I didn't want us to wait 6 months before we got our first victory. And it felt good to get the first one because once you get the first one, there's that belief in the players. And it was almost good that we had the second one right away the next week against Dallas because we could build on that momentum. Obviously, we got 4 at home. Which we want to capitalize on, but it's going to be about going into the remaining away games, which we still have 15 of them, to make sure that we have that same mentality, even if we spend a chunk of time at home in between.
Okay, over 20,000 fans expected tomorrow. How that's 4 straight big crowds now, going back to last year. It's got to be uplifting for the players and the coaches when you see so many people in the stands.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're overwhelmed with the support. We're really grateful for the support. We're there for the fans. They're the most important thing when you take everything into account. So to see that many people in the stadium is heartwarming, but it also helps the players so much. If you're not been a player, you don't realize just how important that is to have that support, especially when things are going, they're not going well on the pitch. That one uplifting cheer or the sound of the crowd can really just spark you on to push for the team.
In terms of your background, Michael, you're born, I hate saying this, born in 1987. Rick and I weren't born anywhere near that, just so you know. So did you go to 86ers games back in the past? What did you do in terms of supporting a local team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always supported the 86ers, the Whitecaps. I always went to games at Swangard. Obviously I support some teams in Europe too, coming from an Italian family. But, I've always supported the Whitecaps, and whether it was the 86ers or the Whitecaps. And definitely I can remember vivid moments at Swangard, cheering on the team and saying, that's where I want to be. And I tried to do that as a player, and I had a short career. But at the end of the day, being here as a Whitecaps coach is I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and of course, at the end of things with the 86ers, they became the Whitecaps and then went on. They changed their name and then went on to MLS. Hey, Brian White and Ryan Gauld, who we've had on the show, they just seem to be so noticeable out there, and their numbers are great. What do they mean to this team?
They mean so much more than just what they bring on the pitch. I mean, off the field, they're so important. They're two very, very, very humble guys, hardworking, willing to take information, always asking questions. They're guys that I really enjoy working with, trying to get to the finer details, whether it's through video, whether it's on the pitch, whether it's just discussing with them at any point, and just good people. So they mean a lot to the club, because at the end of the day, they're the example that they're setting for the rest. If a young player's coming in, or a player that's just been transferred in, sees Ryan Gauld doing what he's doing on the pitch in training, working hard, and sees Brian White doing it, it raises the bar for everybody. And I think that's probably the most important thing. Obviously, goals and assists on the pitch are really important, but, you don't get to measure the opposite things, which are the things that they bring just here in this building and on the field every day in training.
Hey, Michael, before I let you go, you're somebody who watched the 86ers at Swangard. We mentioned Langley secondary before. What's it going to be like being on the same pitch coaching against Messi on May 25th at BC Place?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big event. It's something that, you don't necessarily think you're going to get the opportunity to do, but we have to respect him for who he is. He's probably the best player of all time, and of course everybody's in awe of that, especially the fans. But at the end of the day, our objective is going to be, how do we stop him, and how do we beat Miami? So at the end of the day, it's a massive honor to coach against a player like Messi and some of the other guys that they have in the group. But at the end of the day, we have to treat him like any other player for 90 minutes and try and stop him in any way we can, and also try to beat Miami in any way we can, which I think we can.
This has been great. Michael, all the best. Appreciate it. Say hi to Vanni for us, and thanks a lot.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Michael DAgostino, Whitecaps, taking on Real Salt Lake Saturday at BC Place. He mentioned the 86ers. I know I've said this before on the show. I say a lot of things in the past on this show. But that era with the 86ers, I think, is one of the most underrated sports stories.
They were good
in the history of Vancouver sports, in that Bob Lenarduzzi and Buzz Parsons and everybody involved with the 86ers, the late great Dominic Mobilio included, Ivor Evans, they kept pro soccer alive. They kept pro soccer alive in the city, and those games at Swangard, especially on Sunday nights, were really special.
Dale Mitchell, Carl Valentine, just a couple more guys that we can mention, the 86ers at Swangard. And let's also mention David Braley kept them alive, Donnie. They were going to fold, and Braley bought them and to keep them alive. So it was a good time there. All right, we'll deal with the poll question next. Our thanks to Michael, Donnie, and Dolly, the team. On check.